I would like to begin by thanking our sponsor, which is Fieldstone Memory Care on Bainbridge Island. Thanks to Fieldstone, we're offering something to talk about at least 3 times a week, most weeks. And Fieldstone is offering innovative and compassionate care and day, stay, and respite programs. To learn more, call 360-689-4314. You can get a tour of their apartments on Rolling Bay today. 360-689-4314. Also, I'd like to acknowledge that the Senior Community Center is on the ancestral homeland of the Coast Salish, specifically the Suquamish tribe, the people of the clear salt water. We honor them and we are grateful for their hospitality. We're also grateful that Grae Drake is here today. Grae, you are the recently installed Executive Director of Barn. And you've been around Barn for a little while before you took this new position. So thank you for coming by and introducing yourself and maybe some of the programs at Barn.
Absolutely, my pleasure, and thank you for the invitation. So I imagine some folks are probably a little familiar with Barn, and some folks probably aren't. And one of the challenges that I really need to nail down as executive director is figuring out the right one-sentence description of what Barn is. And I don't think I have it. It feels like one of those things that up till now, you really have to kind of come in and see to really appreciate. And I need to figure out a better way to manage that. I need to figure out the way to describe it.
Well, the term that I often hear is like it's a network of makers, which is kind of a modern, maybe it's ancient, but modern term of people who make things. And boy, you make all kinds of things.
We do. So we are a community wood shop and a world-class fiber arts facility and an enormous print and bookmaking studio and a metal shop and a jewelry studio and a warm glass artisan studio space. We're a lot of things. And so what we really are a community of people who like to get together and be creative, right? And that might be producing novels in the writer's studio, it might be producing a cabinet, it might be producing some glass art. My 7-year-old was with me in the glass studio making some glass art that's great to produce together. So yeah, that's really what we are as a community of folks. And a lot of this stuff is stuff that you can do on your own, right? Plenty of people on Bainbridge and elsewhere have a table saw, right, in their workshop. And so our goal is to be the place that people want to come and work, because it's a great place to be and it's great people to be around for her. So yeah, so that's a quick introduction to Barn. We've got just about all of the tools and equipment that you could want to make anything that you can think of. The short list of things that aren't on there are: we don't have a furnace for the glass studio, so we're a warm glass shop. We do lampwork glass and fused glass, and we do we don't have any ceramics. All of the ceramics is going through the Parks and Rec district right now, so those are the exceptions. But we're a great place to come and do things. We've got a number of classes available for people who are interested in learning new crafts. So if you have been curious about woodworking, carving, working with metal, working with electronics, laser cutters, anything along those lines, we routinely offer classes to train people in the equipment, and the tools and materials that we have. And then we're also kind of very heavily oriented towards people just coming in and using the tools in the space. So members have fairly open access to the different studios to come in and kind of use them as they will. So, right now we've got, I want to say 30 hours of open monitored studio time in the wood shop every week. And that's run entirely by volunteer safety monitors down in the wood shop, making sure that people are being safe and having fun. And yeah, it's been exciting to step into.
So you started out as a volunteer, right?
I did, yeah. So I joined just before COVID, and my hook was in the glass studio. I've been in love with glass for a long time. Started taking some classes in the glass studio, got very, very addicted to working with that stuff. And then COVID came along and really threw us for a loop. And then as we started reopening after almost a full year of being closed to the public, I stepped into the volunteer studio lead position in the glass studio. Help keep things organized, make sure we had the right inventory and that the equipment was in good repair, that our classes were firing, and then stepped into the executive director role here in May.
So was there an opening that you thought, oh, I could probably help out here, and you applied, or how did it happen that you ended up in this new position?
Yeah, so Denise Stimichel was our executive director for 4 years, through a couple of the hardest years I could imagine trying to run a community through, right, in COVID. And she moved to California. So she accepted a role in education in California, and she let me know. And the first thought I had was, oh no, I hope we get somebody good in here to take over for her, because I love this place and I want to make sure that it's doing well. And then I thought, you know what, this lines up with a lot of what I'm interested in doing and a lot of my prior experience. So
tell us a little bit about that. How what kinds of other skills besides a love of glasswork you bring to the job?
Yeah, so I've done a variety of things professionally. So I spent a couple of years working in corporate law as an attorney at a large law firm. More recently, I was the vice president of education at Thinkful, which is a technology education company giving people essentially vocational training in software development, design, data science, kind of modern technology vocation. So I spent 7 years building the company, setting the standards for education, managing teams of instructional designers and product designers. And so I'm very comfortable running a big network of people who are very excited about the educational activity that they have going on.
And as I know from working at the senior center, you also are probably working with a lot of volunteers, which is exciting because you have folks who are very enthusiastic, but they also have a lot of other a lot of interests that, have them come and go.
Absolutely, we do. And, Barn would not exist if we didn't have the support of the entire community in order to keep it running. We have a staff of about 10 people, but that is dwarfed by the number of volunteers that really do keep this place running. So, every studio is led by a committee of volunteers. There's a lead for each studio. There's a programming coordinator for each studio. There are safety monitors and teachers and so on who are working in each and every studio. And so, a factor of 10 at least, if you look at the number of hours that go into making this place work from the volunteer side. And it's great. There are challenges that go along with working with volunteers. Vacation comes up and they're gone, or interests change, and so roles and involvement change. But it's the reason that I am excited to work here is because I'm one of those people who wants to be here and was doing it because I love the place. And so being surrounded by people who love the place, love the community, want to keep it going is pretty great.
And you said at the outset a little bit about how it's kind of hard to describe Barn, Bainbridge Artisan Resource Network. How are you and the board thinking about how to relate to the larger community, people who might not be currently involved? Are you thinking a little bit about that kind of outreach?
We are. We're thinking about the kind of best way to succinctly describe what we're doing here. I think we have a bit of a job first to really understand for ourselves what that is before we can be great at communicating that out. Barn got started 10 years ago when a group of mostly woodworkers and fiber artists got together and said, hey, we'd really love to have a community resource. And then slowly over time, the vision for this shared facility across domains came into shape. And so the community has been here for 10 years and our current facility has been here for 5 years. And the facility is so astonishing that it's easy to become anchored on the facility and to look at the equipment and the tools and the building and to lose sight of the fact that it really is the people. It's the community that is Barn and makes that run. So I think for us, we've got a little bit of clarifying to do around what exactly we are before we're able to communicate that out really well. I think we've also got a fair amount of getting back on our feet post-COVID. We just really lost a lot of people, unfortunately. Some folks moved away, some folks kind of moved on. And so we're getting back going again. We're, from a membership standpoint, we're approaching again what we were pre-COVID. From a class and activity standpoint, we're approaching what we were pre-COVID, but we have the, I think, harder work of rebuilding some portion of the community that we lost, through the terrible couple of years that everybody's been enduring. But yeah, I'm excited to help us button things down, and then once we've really done that, start expanding awareness.
So at this point, it's more, there's an evaluation rather than any particular area of growth or next horizons for Barn. Is that fair or no?
Well, yeah, so it's a good question. So we're gonna make sure that we're doing well by all of our members, first and foremost, right? That we're kind of back up and offering the open studios that are a great reason to draw people in, that we've got good kind of volunteer management systems in place. And then we are looking at growth. So, I mentioned a couple of the things that we aren't able to do right now. We don't have a glass furnace. We don't have a ceramics program. We have an amazing machine shop, but the machine shop can only fit, 4 people in there at a time. You can do anything you want to as long as you don't need more than 4 people in there. And so we can't offer meaningfully sized classes. Can't do a 6 or 10 person class in the machine shop right now. And so we're looking at ways that we can kind of rope in more of the creative people around Bainbridge and Kitsap. And we're looking at ways that we can teach, particularly job-related skills. We're looking at ways that we can teach people who are interested in craft and creativity as a part of their life, as a part of their livelihood. So we're looking at that stuff, but that's a little bit further out. First, we want to make sure that we get fully past COVID and are firing on all the cylinders.
Great. It looks like Winifred has a question, and certainly if anybody else does, you can raise your hand or just sort of wave wildly and we'll recognize you. Winifred?
Well, thanks, Grae. My question is, so what are the COVID protocols now at Barn? I mean, are you requiring masks? Are you requiring anything else? Vaccination? Just curious.
Yeah, so we are about to reconsider our policy. And so I don't know how long this will remain true. Currently, we are requiring vaccination for anyone entering the building. That's been hard for me because I have a 4-year-old. She hasn't been able to get vaccinated yet, but soon. So we're requiring vaccination for everyone in the building. Masks are optional in the common spaces and the studios, unless the instructor or studio monitor chooses to require that for their use of the studio. And that's happening a very small amount, but it's happening some. And that's our current COVID policy.
Okay, and the second question I had, a really easy one. Do you offer any mosaic classes, using tiles to make mosaic type things?
We do.
You do now, okay.
We do. So those tend to be offered out of the glass studio.
Okay.
And so sometimes it's, those are made using mostly art glass. Sometimes they're made using, I forget the name of the technique, but porcelain or dinnerware that you find or shatter and that you recreate. But yeah, we do mosaic work generally out of the glass studio. And Darcy, I'm trying to remember her name, Thompson, I want to say, over in Seattle tends to come over and teach many of our mosaic classes. And she is scheduled to come in October. I can't remember if there's anything earlier in the calendar yet, but I know that there's a mosaic class coming up then.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Sheila.
Thanks, Grae, for being here.
Yeah, of course.
I just want to congratulate you on having Jonathan Emerson the other night in the Great Hall. I had tried, and as Reed will know, to try to get a hold of him or to see him in person. This is the author of The Small World. And so I got a chance to spend an hour and a half or so with him. Do you happen to know what the name of the person who was interviewing him is?
I don't, but I could look that up. Not off the top of my head. Yeah. Let me see here. Yeah, let me follow up with you.
Yeah, maybe a broader question might be authors. We have a lot of local authors here. And I'm wondering, do you have sort of a ongoing program of engaging with local authors? I know that our bookstore is very supportive.
Yes. Yeah, we do. It's been less consistent. So we've done a number of events over the years. I don't know that we've got a consistent schedule specifically highlighting local authors or not. One of our 10 studios is the Writer Studio, and they want to feature local folks and bring them in to kind of share their expertise and experience. I know they also are focused on bringing in people from further afield. I forget, we had one that we just needed to cancel for COVID reasons. But we do try and bring in authors from all around and not just locally. But yeah, I know the Writer Studio is very, very interested in bringing folks in to speak.
While you were answering, I looked up, it's Megan Chance who was interviewing Jonathan, Sheila. Francis.
Thank you.
You're muted, but I'll just ask you to unmute.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. One of the reasons I joined Barn as a member was because of the authors you were bringing in. I joined the writers group and have been very impressed. I'm also very impressed with the partnership you've created with Lodell and having them sponsor artists who come and sort of a residency for them, but they also work with the Barn. And I think that's a perfect example of the kind of cooperative interaction within the community that will help you build your membership over time.
Lodell is
I'd like to say thank you for is that because of various reasons, I was hesitant to join because of the cost and found out that they have a sliding scale for as long as you need it. And I think that's important too. So,
yeah.
And thank you.
Thank you for mentioning that. So we do have funds set aside specifically to make Barn more accessible for people where cost is a barrier, and we don't talk about that as much as I think maybe we should. And so I appreciate you mentioning that. And it is a priority of ours to make sure that people have good access to the community and to the facilities. And so that's one way that we do that. We can do more with that specifically, both on the talking about it front and on the supporting it front. And that's something that our board is looking at specifically right now. So very, very timely to mention. I love Blodell. I love the opportunities that we have to coordinate with them. Sue Spargo is an internationally known fiber artist who was here for a week working with people. Our great room was just full of this vibrant fabric and work that people were doing over that time. And she was also kind of coordinating with Blodell, and so the whole group went over there for inspiration one day. You know, all the work that they were doing was very kind of nature and forest themed, and so it was just a wonderful collaboration. We have a glass artist who works with powders, who is I think a sometimes Northwest resident, but travels all over. Who I believe will be doing a residency at Blodell this summer and coming into Barn to teach a glass powders class as well. I really love those opportunities for donation. The other part of our community support that people here find very important is community service. And so we have a lot of creative people around who would love to support their local community in whatever way that they can. And so we have a pretty well established community service program, and we invite nonprofits or other kind of community focused efforts to connect with us, to let us know what they're looking to get done, and if there are people here at Barn who can support that, then we're pretty happy to do that. And so we have
I know Roger Lowen, one of the original instigators or prime movers in the woodworking effort back more than 10 years ago. The late Roger Lowen was interested in helping with putting in ramps and that kind of thing for people. So that kind of community service work is still part of your DNA, it sounds like.
It is.
And you're saying that if there's a organization, a community group, or a nonprofit that has a project that they think they could benefit from some help from some people who know how to use equipment well, they would contact you or somebody in your office?
Yeah, the website I think has a community service page with some additional information about our efforts there. And so that's where I would direct anybody who's curious about that. You could also reach out to me directly, and I can try and orient you in the right way. But yeah, very, very happy to support community efforts there.
Great. Any other comments or questions? Anything that we haven't touched on, Grae, that you'd like to share with us? Anything coming up this summer in particular? It sounds like you talked a little bit about the visiting artist program, and that's wonderful.
Yeah, this summer is about to get very busy. We've got an extremely robust series of youth programming that's about to get started in July and August. So we're going to be very, very busy. A lot of teenagers running around. Looking forward to that energy here in the building. I'd say I'd love to just reiterate something that I mentioned earlier, which is that you don't need a facility like Barn to do a lot of the work that happens here, but we really do want to be the place that people want to come and do the work. And so we're succeeding to the extent that people want to be here. So that's my goal going forward, is to make sure that that's always the case. And yeah, thank you very much for the chance to talk with everyone.
Yes, and if there's anything that the Senior Community Center can do to help amplify that, feel free to reach out to us. I just put in the chat the link to the community service page that you mentioned.
Great, wonderful.